Hello, everybody. Welcome to Center on the Hill Diabetes Nutrition class. I'm Kirsten Puskar again. Today is our fourth class that we've been doing, and we're going to talk about complications. So I'm dressed in black because, we got to take this seriously, and it's kind of a bummer class. I'm always bummed to talk about complications, but we have a little outline that we're going to go through, and Mary Angela has some questions.
Great. Thanks so much for being here, Kirsten. That's great. So yeah, diabetes complications. Nobody really wants to think about those, but that's really the whole point of keeping your blood sugar healthy, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
That's the goal, is to avoid these complications. And I know, as I mentioned in a previous episode, I've been borderline for a long time, and my mom used to use it kind of as a scare tactic when I was younger. This is why you don't want to go become fully diabetic, because yikes. My father was type 2 diabetes, diagnosed when he was about 41, and I watched him go through a lot of complications because he also liked to just get up in the middle of the night and eat pudding from the refrigerator. So he was not taking it very seriously. And so I was wondering, I only know a little bit about the areas of where complications fall into. If you could tell me a little bit more about, what kind of complications there are, what sort of categories they fall into health-wise.
Yeah, basically, keeping our blood sugar in range is the way that we can maintain all of our bodily functions, to be honest with you. There's three different areas. There's the nerve damage where the sugar has broken, is blocked up and stopped the capillary surface. You can't get capillary blood to your nerves. So you're going to have nerve damage and pain. You're going to have infection, where if you were to damage your skin, a bump or a scratch or whatever, the blood has so much sugar in it, the infection just goes crazy. And because of the nerve damage and the capillary blood flow is less, and so much sugar in the veins and the capillaries, that infection can just go rampant. And then the other one is just plain skin issues. Because of poor circulation, we're going to have, dry skin, some rash, these kind of things, numbness, that kind of thing. So having good moisturizer, making sure that if you do get a cut, you cover it with a Band-Aid. Even if there's any kind of blood, whether it's a scratch or whatever it is, put a little ointment on it, a Band-Aid, that'll help it heal the fastest. Have this thing where we're supposed to let a cut heal with a scab. That takes the longest, and just there's a lot of other problems for anybody. So and then just the general nerve damage, if we can keep our blood sugar in range, it's a good idea. I will say about the nerve damage, it can be peripheral, like your sight, your fingers, your toes, your feet, or it can be internal, where people have slow digestion and other kind of GI problems. Or it could be both. So the best thing is to watch your diet so that you're balancing your carbs with mostly the vegetables and the proteins, and not having as many carbs. Again, drinking plenty of water and exercising. All these, I'm going to go into medicines later, and all of these medicines work great on a good diet. If you're having a really bad diet and you're using these medicines, you're going to use extra medicine. And if you decide you're going to do everything with a fantastic diet and not using these medicines, you're missing out on a really good benefit. So they really need to work together, is basically what I'm saying. So, yep,
Okay,
there's three classes.
Great. Then just to make sure that I understand, when we're talking about nerve damage and infection, some of the reason why I guess my dad was always worried, they were always checking his legs. Because I guess if he didn't feel them, he had a lot of neuropathy. If he didn't feel it, right, you could cut it and then there'd be an infection and you wouldn't actually know. Is that correct?
Bingo. Absolutely. You got it. It's very tricky. And not being able to feel your fingertips or your toes. I'm just going to run out and get the mail, and you're maybe in your socks or you're barefoot and you step on something and you don't know. I had a woman, she walked around for a day with a tack in her shoe, pointed side up. She didn't know. And so now she's got this heel problem and everything. So just check your feet every day. Then the nerve damage is big. It's not just numbness of the feet. It can be blindness. Our eyeball is really complex. Our brain is really complex. But the nerve that connects the eyeball to the brain is very simple, with a little capillary there. And if it's stuck with blood sugar, I have a woman, I love this grape soda. I'm only blind for half an hour. Like, no, we don't want you to be blind. If you got to have the grape soda, just have half a glass with a meal, drink lots of water afterwards. I'll never say no to, the food that you want to have, but we got to balance it so that, your blood sugar doesn't go up.
Okay, yeah. So can you tell me some of the ways that your body does regulate blood
Yeah,
sugar?
it's called the ominous eight. There is 8 ways that our body regulates the blood sugar. The pancreas has beta cells that makes insulin, and people who have type 1 diabetes, they have an autoimmune disease that basically ate up all of their B cells, so they don't have any insulin at all. Type 2, their B cells are having trouble. And I'll just tell you, insulin and B cells make insulin. So if you have a lot of insulin in your body, your B cells feel they don't have to do much work. So when people are sick with diabetes and their sugar goes up and they just keep pumping them full of insulin, it kind of makes the B cells shut down. So we don't want to use a lot of insulin if we can do it other ways, like with diet and exercise or these other medications. So the pancreas has the beta cells. It also has the alpha cells, and they make glucagon, which is the sugar from our body, from our muscles. And if your body needs some more energy, then the pancreas also releases an enzyme to let the sugar out of our muscles and our pancreas, or our liver. So we've got the pancreas that has the A cells and the B cells. We have the intestines that has decreased incretin mimetics. That is a very technical term, but basically, when your pancreas gives you insulin, you have these natural occurring enzymes called, well, I'm just going to abbreviate, GLP-1s and DPP-4s, and they make the insulin last longer. They make you feel full when you've eaten your full meal. They slow digestion so that you get the sugar more slowly, all kinds of things. So these, in the intestines, you have these incretin mimetics, which is a GLP-1 and DPP-4. Now, GLP-1 as a medicine is Trulicity or Ozempic, and the DPP-4 is Januvia or Tradjenta. Those are some medicines. Your fat cells, they give you more sugar too. It's called lipolysis, where the fat cells break down. If you need some more energy, then it'll be great having our fat cells break down. Well, when they break down, they release a lot more sugar than what we would get if we eat food. And a medicine that slows that down is called a TZD, and that would be the glitazones, the Actos, the Vandia. The kidneys. So the kidneys filter out our urine and get all the bad stuff out of there. Well, the way it does it, it releases everything into these little tubules, and then we reabsorb back the nutrients that we need, including sugar. So it's called SGLT2 inhibitors. They stop us reabsorbing more sugar into our blood. It's Invokana and Jardiance. The liver increases how much you're sleeping at night, your blood sugar goes down, your liver gives you a lot of sugar. And that is stopped with metformin. And then your muscles, when you're moving around, it releases sugar. So if you were to exercise and you take your sugar right the first 5 minutes, your sugar will be elevated because all the sugar that's being released from your muscles. Also, when you eat a lot of food, yeah, your liver takes in the sugar, so does your fat, but also your muscles do. So ways that we can stop releasing so much sugar into our blood from our bodies, that would be the metformin. Everybody's heard of metformin. It's cheap and it's very effective. And that, again, helps with the liver and the muscle. Also in the muscle is a DPP-4 inhibitor. That makes the GLP-1 last longer, which makes the insulin last longer. It's kind of a chain reaction there. But that's another medicine that works on the muscle. And the brain, the longer you have diabetes, the more you're going to have neurotransmitter dysfunction. And diabetes basically increases brain aging. So your body isn't able to regulate how it did when it was younger, unfortunately. And then there's also insulin. So the 8 ways that our bodies can give us sugar is through our pancreas, the A cells and the B cells, the intestines, the fat, the kidney, the liver, the muscle, and the brain. So all of those things have medications that go with it. So you don't always have to take insulin all the time. And a lot of doctors know, and the doctors will determine what is your system's problem and can figure out what medicine is for you by blood tests. Unfortunately, insurance also can determine that. I don't know how that got involved, but the insurance covers a lot, and then they can determine what medicine also. So if you were not able to go on these medicines or you needed something more, you could, then insulin is also used. And there's 3 different kinds of insulins. It's a fast acting, like Humalog, it's a regular, and fast acting is about 20 minutes. So it's a good idea to have it before your meal because it takes a while for you to digest your meal and your sugar to go up. You can already have the insulin in there working. Then by the time the sugar hits your blood, insulin will already be there to put it into the cells, get it out of the veins. So that's the 20-minute Humalog, Abmalog, Novolog. Those are the fast-acting ones. There's a regular that lasts anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. They mix them with the fast-acting, so it's like 70-30 or 75-25. And then the last one is the basal, and that can be 24 hours. There's a few basal ones that last, they can be more than 24 hours. So it depends on what your doctor tells you. And then there's also medications that work per week. And I always get them, Bydureon, Trulicity, Ozempic. This is a shot, an injection you take once a week. And then Zoltofi, those are all injections. However, the only medicines that are injections are the GLP-1s and the insulin. So the GLP-1s, again, just to give you an example, is off the top of my head. Oh my goodness. It is, the Trulicity, Ozempic, Januvia, Tradjenta. No, just the Trulicity and Ozempic. So all those other medications that I told you about, those are going to be pills. And then the injections is insulin, and then the GLP-1s, and that's the Trulicity and Ozempic. There's a few others, but they're not as popular. So, so there's 8 different ways our body can absorb sugar so it just gets it out of our veins.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea about half of those. So
see your doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Now I understand. So there seems like there's a lot kind of out there, and a lot that's changing, and a lot of different ways that we treat diabetes. I remember when my grandfather and my father were first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it was a pill, and then they got moved to insulin, which kind of was because they were aging and complications that were happening to them. So what kind of things are going on now as far as changes in the way we look at this, and maybe new options for treatment or ways to save?
Well, of course, as a dietitian, of course, I'm going to tell you, diet, there's a lot of new things have come, and they're really finding that the hardest food on your pancreas is animal protein. So having chicken and beef and fish, and these are all animals, clams and shrimp, having them for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, that's going to give your pancreas a hard time. If you're having an especially hard time right now with your blood sugars, people should need to have some plant-based proteins. It's beans and nuts and seeds. It could be hummus and pestos and that kind of thing. But it could also be marinated baked tofu, teriyaki tofu, which is a lot like grilled chicken. Putting that in a stir fry. There's a smoky tempeh. It's called fake and bacon. It's quite good with roasted vegetables. It's delightful. A lot of these veggie burgers, the Morningstar has some wonderful ones. Again, 15, 20 grams of protein in those. There's some out there that are only 6 grams of protein. That's garbage. Don't worry about that. That's a snack. You want to have something that has a lot of protein in it. So like the smoky tempeh, the marinated tofu, and then there's seitan. That's a wheat gluten. And seitan is a lot like ground turkey, really. And they make it into chorizo, or they make it natural, or they have a bacon flavored. It's just another option instead of having animals if you're having an especially hard time and you want to reverse your diabetes. There's many studies where people who have changed and gone to a plant-based diet where they're having meat once a week instead of 21 times a week, they do really well. Okay, so that's one trend that's happening. And the other thing is finger sticks. It used to be people would just prick their finger in the morning and write down the number and go on with their day. Now we know how to help people look at patterns. So we're having them check their fingers anywhere from one time if they're well controlled to 6 times a day. That would be when you wake up, but before every meal, if you're going to get in the car, do some activity, and then before you go to bed. And with each of those numbers, if it's before a meal, you'll see how many carbs you're going to have in that meal. Not how many, but how much. Are you going to have a meal that isn't going to have much carbs because your sugar's already high? Or your sugar's in a good range. It might be a little bit low. So maybe you have a little bit extra of the bread or the potatoes or the fruit, these kind of things that raise your blood sugar. They're also checking your finger. You can see my finger. If you make a T, like the top of your finger and down the middle of your finger, and you check your blood sugar on the sides instead of these tips, you have a lot less nerves over here and the same number of capillaries. So people checking their fingers, if they have to do it 4 or 5 times a day, you do a different finger and you just do it on the side, so that you're not doing it on the top by the nail where you can't get much blood. It's on your fingertips. So there's that. But besides the finger checks is the A1C versus the continuous glucose monitoring, CGM. And the CGM is a wonderful invention. It basically can track your blood sugar all the time. There's a couple of different brands. There's a Freestyle Libre where you put it on the back of your arm and then you have a little meter and then you read it on your arm. You have to literally take that meter and put it next to the sensor. We've had some people, oh yay, they got the Freestyle Libre. They did it like 3 times a month. And they come back and we're like, we don't know how to kind of put it every couple hours, so we can get a reading. But that, and it's a very easy to get. Well, not very easy, but it's really one of the more easy ones to get. It does give us good information. A little bit accuracy isn't really there, but like it's affordable, and a lot of insurances are covering it. So that's a Freestyle Libre continuous glucose monitor. There's also the Dexcom, the Guardian from Medtronic, and then there's Insense. The Dexcom and the Medtronic is something that you wear, and the sensor just needs to be within 20 feet of it or something, and it reads it every 5 minutes. So that way you can look at your meter at any time and see what your patterns are. Oh, my blood sugar is high tonight. I'm gonna, have more water and exercise, maybe take some more medicine before I go to bed, that kind of thing. The Insense, this is new. This is a little implant that they'll put into your arm or your shoulder, wherever. It's like a grain of rice, and it just sends by Bluetooth to the meter, and it lasts, I think, 6 months or a year. Yeah, I'm not ready for that one yet. But the Dexcom and the Guardian are both, you replace it every 3 months or something, and the sticker lasts like 2 weeks. It's pretty good. The A1C, we're always worried, oh, is your A1C 6.5? Is it 7.5? Is it 9.5? That can range. You can have a 7.0 A1C, which is a good range, by balancing some lows where you've had in the 50s and some highs where you've had in the 250s. So that the A1C, we're finding there's a lot of it's not as accurate as these CGMs. And if you can just be in the good range between 80 and 140 for 70% of your month or week or whatever the time, that is good. 70% is a good range. Yeah, and then we have the better medications now, and then those plant-based proteins that I love. So, and exercise, of course, keeping active every day, whether you have diabetes or not. Our bodies are very complex, and they are ready to go, and they do not do well by sitting all day long. So as you can tell, I'm standing right here, trying to stand as much as I can. It's very difficult. In our world right now, oh my gosh, I could sit and watch movies all day. And then I get up the next day and I'm like, oh, I'm an old lady, I can't hardly move. So the more we can move around and drink water and eat more vegetables and plant-based proteins, the better we are.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Kirsten. That was all really, really helpful information. I know what you mean. Sunday is my day to not do anything, because I work out Monday through Friday, or Monday through Saturday actually, and I always feel it on Sundays. By the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I just laid around, or I sat around, like it's awful. And I'm kind of like, why do I do this? I give myself that day to be like, this is the day I don't have to do anything. But then I'm always sorry. So you're right, exercise.
It's so funny.
Well, thank you again for being with us. That was all really great information. We look forward to talking with you again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you. Have a good day.